2021 championship team. David, they've made all of these changes, but should Giannis now want to stay in Milwaukee?
So it's kind of two things we're talking about here. Should Giannis want to stay because that's what he wants to do? Yes, if Giannis has decided that Miles Turner is the thing that is going to keep him in Milwaukee, then yes, stay in Milwaukee because that's what you want to do. From a basketball standpoint, a pure basketball standpoint of is this bringing him closer to a championship? Is this bringing Milwaukee closer to a championship? The answer is no. As Brian said, Miles Turner is not moving the needle and changing this team from what would have been maybe a play-in team to some sort of championship contender. But Giannis has decided that that's enough for him to stay. I am still of the belief that the best move for both of these entities, Giannis and the Bucks, if they want to be close to an actual NBA championship, was settling this divorce right now.
Past tense. You still believe that?
I still believe that, yes.
Even taking the $20 million dead cap for 5 years?
Well, now you have no choice. Right now, Giannis is kind of bought in, but the problem is they're taking this cap for multiple years. We don't even know if Giannis is going to stay past next year, right? Like, they may be held on to this beyond the point of Giannis being there. But Giannis, to me, if they're trying to win before all of this, you part ways. You go to a contender in Milwaukee, you get as much of a haul as you possibly can and start your rebuild now. Because what you've done is you have locked yourself into this dude. You've locked yourself into all this money, and I still do not see a pathway to a championship or anything close to a championship for either one of these people.
Tim?
If Giannis Antetokounmpo wanted to leave Milwaukee, he would have already said he wanted to leave Milwaukee. There's been reasons over the past few years for him to do that. This is a team that has not made it out of the first round in each of the last 3 playoffs. They had 2 very disappointing losses the last 2 years as a top seed. This year, they were not that competitive as a 5 seed, and that was before Damian Lillard tore his Achilles in Game 3 of that first round loss to the Pacers. If you look at where this team is at, it is very hard to construct an argument that they have a path to being a championship-level team. They are the current 8th betting favorite to win the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is widely seen as the junior varsity conference. So if you're right now projected to be a play-in team, at least by the betting odds, in the Eastern Conference standings, it's very hard to see how you get from that place to being a top 4 team in the East when you have no cap space, 1 first-round pick, $22.5 million in dead money on your books going forward, very few tradable contracts on the roster, very little flexibility, few young players to grow with Giannis going forward. It's basically Giannis Antetokounmpo, Miles Turner, a bunch of filler, and that's it, which is why this team is seen as a, borderline play-in level team. This is a team that finished 5th in the Eastern Conference last year with Damian Lillard averaging 24 points a game, still being a very good player, if not a perfect fit with Giannis Antetokounmpo, if not the kind of fit that the Bucks thought he would be when they made the Jrue Holiday trade a few years ago. So when you pull back, you say, all right, what does Giannis Antetokounmpo want to do? Does he want to stay in Milwaukee for his whole career? If he does, God bless him. He's earned that right. You look at guys like Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, Steph Curry, like you spend your whole career with one franchise. That's a special thing to do. He obviously brought a championship back to Milwaukee for the first time in a half century. He's unquestionably the greatest Milwaukee Buck in the history of the franchise. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was only there a couple of years. He doesn't really that recognition the way Giannis does, having spent more than a decade with the franchise. So he has nothing to apologize for if he wants to be a Buck. But he has said publicly that his goal is to win multiple NBA championships. And if he does not win multiple NBA championships, he will see his career as somewhat of a failure. And it's very hard to sit here objectively and look at the Bucks going forward and see a path to them being a multiple-time championship team, particularly when they are out all of their draft picks and now have 10 to 15% of their salary cap tied up in money they can't do anything with for the rest of the decade. And at the end of the decade, Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be 35 years old. So that is where this question, I think, comes down to, frankly, for me, this summer, even after this Miles Turner move. They're now paying Miles Turner essentially $50 million a year the next 4 years. Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to play alongside him. He thinks that gives him a chance to win as much as he can in Milwaukee and be happy with it. Great. But if he wants to win championships, it's very hard to see how he's going to do that as a Buck.
Wendy, we're posing this as a hypothetical, right? Should he want to stay in Milwaukee? Has that decision already been made? I mean, if you're the Bucks, do you make a move like this knowing that there's a possibility he could leave? Don't you already know he's there?
I don't know everything, and I don't know that the Bucks know that. I did not see a comment from Giannis yesterday. I saw a strange social media post that was left open to interpretation. And I'm not afraid to say that I don't know. If Giannis comes back from Greece in 3 weeks and says, my God, I've dreamed of Miles Turner being my teammate, double me down. Where's my contract extension? I'll be like, man, what an amazing move. What an awesome move. But I don't, like I said, I don't think this moves the needle. It's a good move. It's a absolute pure guts. Like when I talked to executives yesterday, like the first level of the conversation was like, wow, man, John Horst and that ownership group talk about guts. Like on a level, they were like, I don't have those kind of guts. Maybe I should reevaluate what I'm doing. And if I'm another star player out there, I'm saying, look at what this team is doing. You know, like, why won't my team do this? Like, there's a level of fascination and awe. But when the smoke clears, 8th, the odds makers don't mess around. The odds makers don't play with emotions. The odds makers can see what the team has. So, you know, one of the things that in my world I live in, like, you know, because I'm from Cleveland, people are in Cleveland are like, why haven't the Cavs traded half their roster? They lost in the second round last year. How can they possibly come back with this same team? You know, I'm always in New York. People are like, how come the Knicks haven't done a trade? You know, if the Knicks don't make the finals next year, blow it up. I'm like, are you guys paying attention to what's going on? Like, these teams that are all around you in the Eastern Conference, like, they've got these injuries and they're getting worse. They're getting worse. Like Milwaukee or Cleveland and New York are just sitting there going, hey, we're just going to bring our team back and look at what's happening. All these teams around us are like we were worried about the Pacers. See, the Celtics just took away their entire roles. All their role players are pretty much gone. You know, the Bucks had Giannis and Dame, and now they're going to be paying Dame when Dame's retired. They're going to be playing him. So, like, status quo sounds pretty darn good to me.
Fascinating. Yeah. And then the other side of this, David, you want to go on this?
They better. This idea that we don't know if Giannis is going to come back from Greece and resign. If he does not do this, Nico Harris, they're going to make Nico Harris look like Sam Presti in terms of like the worst moves that I can imagine seeing. They have better have had Giannis signing up for this and saying that he's coming back if they're making this move. This is unbelievable if that would be the case.
All right, let's look at the other side of this big move. The Bucks waiving and stretching Damian Lillard's contract. For the first time in his 13-year career, Dame will be a free agent. Now, he'll spend most of next year rehabbing that torn Achilles. But after that, his next destination is up to him. Our Mark Spears on NBA Today yesterday mentioned the Golden State Warriors may have interest in that hometown star in the All-Star guard. Wendy, is Dame Lillard desirable to teams right now?
What he wants to do now becomes a back half of the season major storyline. Now, I have been around long enough to see these players who have come off of Achilles tears, and I've talked to them in this, you know, this same situation where the player says, I'm going to be back in February. You watch, I'm way ahead of schedule. I'm kind of like, whoa. Let's not assume anything about Dame. Let's not pressure him. Let's let him recover. We want to see him have a last act of his career. Having said that, if he indeed is able to return this season, he becomes an incredible wild card post All-Star break next year because he is absolutely still an impact player. And he's an impact player who doesn't have to worry about money. This is one of the greatest things you could ever have as a professional in any situation. Financial freedom and free agency. This is glorious. It's glorious. He can now go wherever for the bottom basement price. In fact, if he makes $1 more with any team, it's value added because he's already got his money set up. So, yeah.